You're all
Great.
set.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, September 14th, 2023. I will call roll. Terry Majewski is here. Joel Ireland. You here, Joel? You're on
Yes,
mute.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jan Mulder.
Here.
Great. Ricky Riojas.
Here. And it,
Mm.
oh, she's back. Never mind.
And
I am here. Sorry.
Great. And Savannah McDonald.
Here.
Great. Thank you very much. And welcome back, Ricky, to Plans Review. Item 2 is, and not present is Commissioner Griffith, Carol Griffith. So we have a quorum of 5. Okay. Item 2 is approval of the legal action report / minutes for the meeting of August 31st, 2023. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please?
I will move to recommend approval of the minutes as submitted.
Okay.
I'll second that. This is Joel.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like Carol just joined.
Oh, great. So Carol joined at 1:03.
This is Jan. I just have a quick comment. I wasn't at the meeting. I didn't have a chance to review the minutes that we just got, but if others who are in attendance are comfortable with the minutes, then I am. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I will go ahead and call for the vote on that motion, please, to approve those minutes as submitted. Terry votes aye. Joel?
Yes.
Jan?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
And Savannah?
Aye.
And Carol? I'm not seeing Carol. Carol, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Did you want to vote aye or nay on those minutes?
I didn't. I just now got on.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the last meeting of August 31st. And
Okay, vote aye.
you vote aye. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, the next item 3.
Madam Chair, can we try to identify the Zoom user so we can have a proper record?
Yes, let's find out who that is.
I sent a direct chat, but they haven't responded.
And I can see most of the other names in the participant list, but I don't even see Zoom user on that list. That's weird. Okay. I'm messaging too.
Okay.
All right, we'll see if we get an answer.
Hey, yeah, Terry, actually it's me, it's Joel. Somehow I'm on 2 screens.
Oh.
Okay, so
I'm just gonna X out of the Zoom user.
okay,
I'll just hang that up. Sorry.
okay, thank you.
It says chat pin or whatever, but I'll get out of it. It's me.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, let me get back to our class. Item 3 is historic preservation zone review cases. We review these under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0.0/historic district design guidelines and the revised Secretary of the Interior Standards and Guidelines. Case 3A is SD 0523-00059 at 711 to 713 East 5th, and it's a code violation. It's projects to remodel the exterior, replace windows and doors, patch and repair stucco and wood siding. It's in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a full review. It's a contributing resource and we'll be using the rehabilitation standards. Jody or Michael, would you like to give us a background on this case, please?
Sure. Excuse me. So this is a code violation as you for the work that was already done. It went to the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board on August 15th, and they recommended to approve new Pella aluminum clad windows as proposed, the 6-panel wood sided doors as proposed, the stuccoing dashed style of the entire building to address patching issues, restoration of window sills as proposed, and a new wood front door in the craftsman style. And if you had a chance to review the minutes that were associated with this, there is a photo that basically shows in the upper third a 6-light window with a recessed paneling below as the craftsman style, and it was approved unanimously.
Okay. That sounds good. And who is here to present this case, please?
Jose Sija is here to present.
Okay, would you like to go ahead, Jose?
Yes, hi, how you guys doing? How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Can I use the share screen now?
I assume so.
Let's see. I said, well, I'm not able to use it.
So Jody, would you make him a
Yeah.
co-host or whatever?
Yeah, he's a co-host. I was in the process of doing it.
No problem. Okay, can everybody see that?
It's coming.
Okay, let me know if you see it now.
We can see it.
Okay, so basically what we have here is a couple of different buildings. The address is 711 and 713 East Fifth Street. The building on the front, I think that's the one that has most of the historical value. And my client came in and started making a remodel without a permit. And of course, that created this whole issue with the historical. We have gone through and make revisions to the plan to make sure we meet the requirements for historical review. So there's two buildings, one in the front and one in the back. The one in the back is a 2-story. The one in the front is single story, the 7-Eleven. And then I'll show you here. This is the front building, which basically shows the existing conditions as they appear right now. So it shows you the elevations. And on the south elevation, which is the front of the street, shows you the work that the client already did and what's existing in regards to the windows and doors. Most of the work happened on the you can see here on the south elevation, west elevation, and then also happened on the west elevation of the property, and then a little bit on the also half of the north elevation. So that's the existing conditions as it is now. The new proposed building is basically going back and removing the damage that was already created, putting the new windows in place per the original scale of the windows, and making sure that we provide new aluminum clad windows, with the option of that revising the door with the windows at the entryways. So that happens on the front building, and on the rear building, same condition, same thing happens. Here is the exterior. It's a 2-story building, and pretty much we're doing the same thing. We're replacing all the windows with metal clad. Some of the windows used to be sliders, and we're switching them to single hung. And then same thing, we're actually replacing the doors with an actual door and window system. The stucco that is already damaged on both of the elevations, both of the windows, is going to be is going to be replaced. We're gonna have to restucco the whole house and making sure that we match the same texture finish. So as far as the extent of the work is replacing all the windows, all the exterior windows, replacing all the exterior doors, and then restucco the whole exterior. Nothing is being done to the roof structure, overhangs of the building. The facade is not being changed in regards in any way, shape, or form. So that's pretty much the extent of the scope of work. You guys have any questions for me? I'm happy to respond.
Okay, who would like to start with questions?
I just had a quick question. The first plan, yeah, the one that you have up now, the one with the brown frames, are those original before the code, offending work was done?
Yeah, so for example, this is a good example. This is a front elevation. You can see these two window, the window and the door on the side. They removed them, and the window they made it smaller, and they removed the door and put a flat door, metal door. On the other side, those are still the original doors
Okay,
and windows. And so, but once we go back, and what we had asked for is to come back in here and replace both windows and doors on both sides to match their original opening. And the door is going to be this type of door at the entryway with a little window on the top.
okay, got it. No, that's clear to me. I just was curious if you had documentation that all of them were double hung before the work
Yeah,
was
so
done. Yeah.
when you look at all the windows, the original windows. So if I guess if you look at this window system, if you look at this elevation, that elevation wasn't touched at all. So if you look
Okay,
at all the windows, this is what they have. They're all basically single hung windows.
okay. And then are you putting the screen doors back in front of the windows, or sorry, in front of the doors?
No, we did not. We're not putting those on there.
Okay. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Jan. I just had a related question just to clarify. So some of the windows were replaced with different sizes. Some of the openings when they were initially replaced by the owner were different sizes. Now you're going back and restoring them all to the original size and configuration. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Joel, Carol, Ricky?
Yeah, this is Joel. Yeah, this is in my neighborhood. I saw this, the replacements that were done on the west side of this building were pretty awkward. One of my concerns is the stucco. What type are we going to use? It looks like they stuck it in those window holes with cement, and I want to make sure that we use the right type of stucco on any restuccoing that had to be done.
Correct. So what would happen is what you saw there, it was basically the first coat stucco there, and they were trying to finish that up. But what happens is because it's going to be very difficult to patch the same finish of stucco as the original house. Most likely they're gonna have to go back and restucco the whole thing with the same texture finish.
And with some are you going to use lime or cement-based stucco?
I'm not sure. I need to talk to the contractor or the owner on that, but we can, if there's a preference, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. If you want to do lime or.
Yeah, I think there's a.
What is this?
I think we're looking for the finish, not for the material purposes, correct?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
both of these buildings, are they both complete Adobe buildings?
I'm sorry?
Are both of these buildings complete, like they're Adobe buildings?
Double brick, I think.
No, I think they're
Okay.
right.
Oh, then
So
wouldn't
you
they
can
just match the prior existing?
I would guess that it's currently cement stucco and it's
Yeah,
fine
I
to
would-
use the same.
Yeah.
And that may be true. I just want to make sure that it's the proper, whichever way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, we're concerned. We're really concerned. Well, we're actually gonna make sure if you can see that image on the front, that's the texture that's gonna be matched. That's the original texture.
Gotcha. Okay, good deal.
Okay, anyone else?
I just had a question on the east elevation here. Are they just the windows that are currently there? That are are those original? Are those are going to be maintained, right? Nothing done with them, or is there
No,
some?
Those
Okay.
are going to be removed and replaced with new dual glaze aluminum wood clad windows. But they're,
Removed, but they're original?
yes,
It cannot be repaired and left in there rather
No,
than
they're
removed?
pretty rotted and the mechanism doesn't work. That's one of the reasons they decided to replace those windows.
You all right, Bob?
Okay. I don't know, they don't look too bad to me, but you know, I'll take your word for it that they're not replaced, you know, you're not able to repair them as opposed to replace them.
And just for the record, West University does approve of the wood clad metal windows, correct? Jody?
Correct, they do.
Yeah, and that's what was in their motion. Okay.
Sorry, just one more question since I'm looking at that elevation. There's like it's kind of like a center mullion between a couple of those, or is that going to be saved at all, or can they at least, are they going to replicate that to match? Do you see? Yeah, that.
Oh, this right here?
Yeah, there's a couple of them that have that feature.
That's correct. So basically what they're gonna do, they're gonna leave the wood in place. They're gonna replace
Okay,
the actual window.
Oh,
that's good to hear.
yeah.
Okay, Ricky, did you have anything?
No, my questions got answered.
Okay, is there further discussion? Are we ready for a motion? Do you have other questions about any of the other work on the property?
I do not, but I can make a motion.
Are we going over 713 or is that a separate?
I think it's all at the same address, correct, Jose?
It's all the same. I mean, they're 713 and 711, and here's 713. We're doing the same thing, replacing the same window opening sizes with the new aluminum clad.
No work was done at 713 though, right? That
Yes,
one.
Yes, there was. There was work done there before. Let me see. Yeah, they actually made they replaced some of the windows with sliders. And so on the last meeting that we had, they asked me to make sure that we go back and make those single hung instead of sliders.
On those ones too, did they change the sizes or did they keep the same size?
No, though they did change some of the sizes, but we're going back to the original sizes.
Okay.
Jose, this 7-Eleven is a duplex, right?
Yes, the 7-Eleven is a duplex as well as the 713. The 713 is a two-story duplex.
So the east side of that 7-Eleven, do they plan to do anything on those doors and windows?
Yes, we're replacing all of them.
Are you going to, does that mean this same thing you're doing on 7-Eleven will be the same thing on 712?
713.
Well, no, we're talking about, so the duplex on the front, Michael, is we're replacing all the windows and all the doors on the outside.
Okay.
And we're keeping the original openings, except that we're just reusing metal clad windows.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
Anything
I have one
else?
more question.
Okay,
On that 713, do you expect to have to redo a significant amount of the stucco like you do with the 711 one?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we specify on the plans to match the existing completely throughout the house. There's no way. What happens with stucco is really difficult to patch it. You
Mhm.
know, especially when it has texture, it's very hard to match the same texture.
I understand. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, so
I
who-
just had, this is Jan, I just had one more, I apologize. That front door that West University mentioned, was that a replacement for both of the front doors on the duplex or just one or?
That's for both of the front doors and also
Okay,
the doors on the entryway of the two-story unit.
okay. So it's essentially for the entry doors for all of the units, is that correct?
Only for the main entry doors, correct?
Right, okay, thank you.
okay, are we ready then for a motion?
Yeah, I can make a motion.
Okay,
Okay, on the matter of SD 0523 0059 at 711 through 713 East 5th Street, I move to approve as presented.
recommend approval.
Yes.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
No,
Is that Carol?
yeah,
Savannah.
or Savannah, either one of us, it doesn't matter.
Oh, we'll just pick you, Carol, since I heard you. Okay, are further okay, if not, we'll go ahead and vote on the motion. Terry votes aye. Ricky,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Savannah,
Aye.
Jan,
Aye.
Joel.
I,
Okay, thank you. The motion passes 6-0. And Jose, do you need any summary of the next steps, or are you aware?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Are you aware of the next steps, or do you need Jody or Michael to summarize?
Yeah, it'll be nice if you just let me know what else I need to do. We submitted the plans for permits again, but we're hoping that this was gonna be, yeah, so, but yeah, let me know what I need to do.
Okay, Jody, do you want to go over it?
Sure. So the recommendation of the advisory board and the recommendation of PRS will be forwarded to the director. They will make a decision and issue a decision letter. You will receive the decision letter, and there is a 14-day appeal period from the date of the decision letter should you decide to appeal.
Right.
If you do not appeal, then after that 14 days is done, you can submit the revised plans per the conditions in the decision letter, if there are any, and continue with the permitting process.
So basically I have to wait until I get the letter and then I can, 2 weeks later, I can submit.
Correct.
Okay.
Any revisions, and your plan should be revised to reflect the conditions if there are any in the decision letter.
Right, okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. So our next case, 3B, is SD 0823-00086 at 629 North 7th Avenue. And this is to demolish a detached rear yard structure and construct a new house along the west property line. This is a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It is a contributing resource and will be using the rehabilitation standards. Jody or Michael, would you like to provide background?
Sure. This project was also heard at the August 15th West University Historic Zone Advisory Board. They recommended to approve the project as presented with the understanding that the west side setback is in accordance with the existing structure that is being demolished on the west side. Rachel Sarah is here to present.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, let's
Oh,
see.
Rachel, excuse me, who are
Yep.
you with?
What's that?
Who are you with? Which company?
Oh, RAS Architecture?
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to share my screen. Hold on, it's not letting me share the one I want. Here we go. Show windows. Okay. Okay. So this is the subject property on 7th Avenue. There's a really big grand brick house at the front, and we are proposing to put a second residence back here on the west end of the property. And so let me show you really quick what that little shed we're planning to demolish is. So this shows what that was. This is non-contributing little shed that's falling apart and is used for storage. Here's what it looks like at the back side of it. And that was the front of it. And so we're proposing to do a 2-story brick residence. We want to really pull in a lot of the same details on the main house. As you can see in this picture, there's a lot of different brick patterns and things like that. And so our intention is to really match a lot of that with some of the detailing of the brick here, just so that it really ties into that existing house. But we wanted to also keep it a little bit more modern, so it's obviously not the same, exactly the same styles and all that. It will also fall below the height of the existing house by about a foot, I think, not a ton, but it will be lower than that existing house, and it does fall below other houses within the development zone. We're proposing wood clad windows. We have some fixed windows, and we have double hung, and then we have some like picture windows flanked with double hung. There'll be a wood door with some glass and some glass side lights, and then we'll have some French doors at the patios. Along the 2nd story rails, we'll have cable railing, so kind of the idea is that it will kind of disappear. It's not going to become like a statement. And then the other thing that we're proposing is a metal pergola that wraps around. Let me see here. It's going to be 2 metal pergolas, one here and one here, and those actually are similar to something that's on the main house, except that is the ones on the main house is wood, as you can see here. But we would like to do steel, so it has a little bit more longevity. As you can see, these are not in the best shape. So just here's some more examples of sort of the the brick detailing that we want to match and pull into our design. Also the same sort of pattern of windows with, a single fixed window in the center flanked by double hung on either side. Pairs of double hung. And then there's also some examples of steel within the neighborhood already. So we're not trying to pick anything that's really out of character. The footprint of our proposed structure will be back here, and it's really more in line with some of the other properties in the development zone. As you can see, the main house here is quite large, and so we're trying to be diminutive to that, but it will actually be a second primary residence, which is allowed by the zoning here. So, any questions?
Who would like to start?
Or I'll start. So the height of the proposed new project matches the height of the front part of the main house, right?
It does. They both are 22 feet, but the way the property slopes, this will actually end up being lower, like from how do I say this? So as the grade slopes
From the street
back,
view?
yeah, from the street view, and you won't even be able to see it from the street. But yes, it will actually end up being a little bit lower. But it is right now the same height. And the existing house, if we see here, it's kind of hard to tell in the pictures, but it is actually, you can't see it in the picture, but it actually is a little bit of a pitched roof. And so it's even higher than that 22 feet. But we're gonna cap ours out, the new one, at 22 feet as well.
What portion of the main house is that 22 feet section? It's not the full, it's not like the full footprint as a second floor, right?
It's so, let's see if the aerial shows it any better. It's sort of this like middle
Okay.
section here, and then the rest of it, I believe, is like 16. Let me zoom back out.
Okay. Are there any other structures on Eccles Avenue that are 2-story by chance?
I'm not sure about Eccles, but there is
Just the alley or the street that it's like
yeah,
fronting
I
on.
was trying to remember. So on the corner is a school. It's kind of hard to see through all the vegetation. I don't believe, I thought I had a Eccles Alley sheet, and now I'm not. Oh, this is it. No, it doesn't look like any of the other structures along the alley are 2 stories.
But you took your precedence from
From the main house and other conforming
7th Avenue
properties.
side.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, because that's technically our address is still 7th Avenue. So.
Okay. I was just trying to get a sense of what it'll look like from the alley, but it looked like the existing structure is partially supported by a
There's
wall. Does that wall come down too?
No, it's actually, there's a little gap here.
I meant the
So,
wall on Eccles side.
oh
that
yeah,
white
so
wall.
we're gonna be taking this wall down. Oh, let me go back to the main. So we're gonna also be doing, a block wall that's going to be stuccoed with a brick cap. So we're going to be removing that wall that you were just asking about all the way across, and we're going to be putting a new wall that runs along here to kind of give this house its own yard separate from this one. There'll be parking back here, and then we'll have some metal gates. So we'll have a metal gate back here because we're going to have a sort of utility yard back here, so electrical panel and the AC unit, and then we're going to have the like a trash enclosure here for both properties, so they can pull their trash cans out to Eccles Avenue without having them sit in the alley. And so that will be a stuccoed wall with a brick cap on it.
And is that covered in the submission in terms of what the
thought that
material that
I
wall?
thought that it was, but now I'm not sure because it's
Like
not.
the gates too, I think it would be.
I believe they were
Nice.
called out. Here we go. They
The-
should be.
does-
Yeah, here we go. They're called out here. Masonry wall with stucco, a brick cap. So keynote 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do the gates look like? Are they just solid steel?
Yeah, we're just looking at doing a simple tube steel, like for privacy and security.
Okay. So in terms of the elevation, when you say north, I think that's actually south, right? And south is north. Your balconies are on the north.
Oh, yes, you are correct. Good catch. I missed that one.
Well, I mean, it's confusing
Yeah,
because
no.
then your west
Yeah.
elevation is also showing a balcony on the south, but that's completely incorrect, right? It's on
we
the
actually, you are correct. We actually flipped the house at one point completely. So that was a holdover from a previous edition. But so yes, this is the south elevation. This is where the cars will come up here. And this is actually the north elevation. So yes, I'll make that edit before I
And then
resubmit.
the west elevation's wrong too, right? Balcony should be on the north.
The
Your west elevation shows the balcony with the railing.
yeah, hang on. I completely. So the west elevation should have. Yes, no, the west elevation. Why is this?
I think it's you've got it mirrored
Just-
wrong.
yeah.
On the west.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that should be.
Okay. So
Yes, that's mirror. Yes. I'm glad you caught up because I was just staring at it blankly. Yes, you're correct. So this should be mirrored, but all of the heights and everything haven't changed.
Okay, and then sorry, just a few more questions. The
Yeah, no worries.
steel pergola, it doesn't have a ducking. It's just
No,
structure?
so similar to what's in the existing, they plan on so this is just kind of open right now, and they're probably gonna do something similar, just keep it open and have like vines or something grow up on it. For the second residence.
I think that was it. I'm just trying to get a sense of what it looks like from
Yeah, no,
the
absolutely.
Echo side. So
doesn't.
we'll see the cable rail too. Is there anything else in the neighborhood that has cable rail?
I don't know that I found an example of that. We could switch to a wrought iron if that's something, but the neighborhood was okay with having the cable. We just didn't want something ornate.
I get that. Yeah, I feel like that might be
A little too modern.
You took your clues from the masonry. I think a lot of the windows too. That was the one that just kind of stuck out to me too. Is if there was some kind of precedent for it in your development zone, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's
see it.
totally fair. I think the idea was we just wanted it to kind of vanish. So.
Well, I'll let other commissioners see what they think. Right, but that's it for now. Thanks.
This is Jan. I don't have much except to just point out that this is kind of an unusual situation in that I think across Eccles and maybe for the whole stretch across Eccles, it's commercial. And so it's kind of a different situation than if it were a minor alley that was all residential.
Yeah, I think that's why we tried to keep a lot of security was sort of a key here, which is why we kept the windows so high here along the alley here, and then where the driveway is, no windows at all. Because that was something we were concerned about.
Okay, who else has comments or questions?
There was a comment that was posted in the chat. It came from Zoom, so I assume that was Joel.
Yeah, how many trees and other vegetation will be removed? And then Jill responded, no, that can't be right. Because Jill isn't speaking, Rachel is.
Yeah, I didn't see a response.
So there will be 2 trees removed. These 2 right here will be the ones that are removed. And we're trying to keep as many as we can intact. And actually, it's a little bit hard to see because this looks like it came during winter time. So this tree is actually the one that we're taking down is already having some issues and dropping limbs and leaning. So that's why we decided to put the house there so that it would, we're taking out a tree that was already sort of in poor health.
Okay. Joel, was that your question then on this case?
No, it wasn't. I thought I'd X'd out of that one window I was in, but I'm not an IT guy. I don't know. Sorry about that. I do have a question on the south elevation. The window there that has a picture window in the middle there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about the construction of that window? I don't know. It just has a funny non-historical look to me, and I'm wondering if it's just my aesthetics or if there's really a historical issue. Because on the ends of the window, there's no like mullion or offset of the window, and yet there is in the middle 2 mullions. I don't know.
Well, so it will be a fixed window. So it'll be similar to what's here. We have a different wall space, so we're having a bigger centerpiece, and the windows that will go on either side will be narrower. So it's sort of in that same vein with the single fixed and the 2. We also were trying to kind of use this module over and over again. So that's what dictated that versus it being a wider double hung. We wanted to have that double hung that's used multiple places.
I got you. Okay, okay. Thank you. Yeah, and so that's really all I had. All my others were taken, answered already. Yeah. Good deal.
Okay. Carol?
The only question I had was, there had been, when this had been reviewed by West University, they had commented about the west side setback. Can you just tell us what that was concerning? Because it looks like it's the same, well, I don't know, go ahead. Just, if you could
Yes, so I am actually on the West University board, so I was not able to present. So I'm not sure what that conversation was. Jody, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I think there was a concern about whether or not it was within the setback, so they were essentially waiving the setback, and that's just how they worded it.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, because we do need to have the setback waived to build up on the lot line, but so we're just meeting what was the prevailing setbacks, is that the idea?
Correct.
Okay,
And wasn't it matching, and it's the same setback as the existing shed or existing structure?
yeah,
Or
so
am I
it's gonna
missing-
be along this same property line here. And then we're actually, we'll be farther away from this property line. So the north, we don't need the north setback waived, we need the west setback waived, and so that's what that discussion was.
But the existing structure wasn't on the property line, is that right?
No, it is right here, this is the property line.
Oh, okay, in the drawing, it's just the demolished non-contributing structure, it's just shown further in, so. Sorry, folks.
Oh, yeah, it should not be further in, it is on the property line. I can make that edit as well.
Okay, Ricky, did you have anything?
Yeah, could you, oh, you said that there were a couple buildings that were around that height of the 22 feet. Which ones are those in that are the,
So there's this one over here is a 2-story building. Actually, sorry, it's this one. It's not actually within the development zone. It's this one here. And then I believe this was also a 2-story building. But quite frankly, the property that we're working with is that height, so we don't need to prove it more than once.
yeah, I was just
Correct.
curious for that, yeah, for that area, because looking in the back, but that was my only question.
Yeah, there is a number of 2-story ones there. I know one of these is as well, but we're falling below. We don't want to be bigger than our house. That's, obviously the biggest thing we're trying to tie into, so.
Yeah, okay, that was all.
Okay, Savannah, do you want to think about making the motion because you had made the most comments on corrections that need to be made to the plans? Because I think that has to be mentioned in a motion because those have to be corrected.
Yeah,
Can I take a step, I just want to make sure I'm getting it too. So I need to edit the elevation for the north and south and then flip the west elevation. And then the other thing we were talking about was making sure that building to be demoed footprint is in the correct location. It looks like it got offset off of both property lines, but it should have just been offset off the north.
Is that the list that everyone's hearing?
Yes, that's what I heard.
Okay, and
The only other was Savannah's question or about the railings on the little balconies with the wire versus the wrought iron.
what do you think about that, Jan?
Well, I hear your point. I guess for me in that location, I'm less concerned, but I definitely take your point. It seems like it would be more true if it were wrought iron.
okay, and do we also need to mention the setback waiver? Jody,
Yes.
okay. All right. Is there anything else we're missing?
I mean, I guess I don't feel super strongly about the railing. I think that it's more of a preference, and I don't know if I want to include it in the motion if most people don't. mind the more modern look, especially if it is not across from residential and it is more commercial. So
It's
do the rest
very
of you think?
commercial.
I think our
I would
idea,
have stronger
sorry.
feelings about it if it were contributing, but it's a new build.
Yeah, that was kind of our thought, is we wanted to distinguish it in some ways from it being a historic building.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's fine with me. I can omit it from the motion if you guys are aligned.
Does anyone feel strongly that Savannah needs to leave it in, or is it okay to be out?
No, I just want to make sure we have that discussion since Savannah raised it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jan. It's always good to have a discussion. Okay, I can make a motion. Sure.
Great, thank you.
Just get organized here. On the matter of SC 0823-00086 at 629 North 7th Avenue. I move to recommend approval of the project as presented, with the following comments or corrections to be picked up on the plans. That the elevations to be labeled correctly, specifically the north and south to be switched, for the west elevation to be corrected to reflect current floor plans, specifically the second floor balcony, that the existing structure that is to be demolished to be shown on the site plan correctly, and then finally for the setback waiver that's been requested to be accepted. And that's on the west, sorry.
Okay, is there
I'll
a
second. No, this is Carol, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Is there further discussion? Okay, if not, let's call roll. Terry says aye. Carol?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Ricky?
I
Jan?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Passes 6-0.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Sure. No, I didn't miss anyone, did I? No. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, and oh, Rachel, do you need to know about the next steps, or are you comfortable with what
Nope,
happens?
I'm good with them. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, let's move on to item 3C. But before we do, I want to ask, do we have a last name for Irene, who is on Zoom? And I've messaged Irene and I didn't hear a response. Michael, do you have her last name?
Who?
I've got an Irene Capricorn/Sagittarius.
That's the same way I have it. I don't know what the last name is. I have Irene Capricorn.
Yeah, but that's not her last name. Irene, are you there? Does anyone know who Irene is?
Last name is Fernandez.
Okay, and who are you with, Irene? Just a citizen? Are you with one of the cases?
I am interested in one of the cases. Yes, ma'am. I am interested in 5360 East
Case
Fort
three.
Hall Road.
Okay, so your last name's Fernandez, right? Great,
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am. You're
Okay.
welcome.
Okay, Michael, do you have everyone else you need?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, move on to item 3C. The case number is SD 0223-00027 at 5360 East Fort Lowell Road. This is a continued case for the construction of a new perimeter wall and landscaping remodel. It's a full review in the Fort Lowell Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource and we'll be using the rehabilitation standards. Jody, do you want to give a summary? And then PRS members, we're going to have to figure out how much of the public comment we should read into the record or summarize. So Jody, could you go ahead?
And this is Jan. I'd like to also discuss, based on the record, whether this should just be going back to staff to kind of clear things up and send it back to us.
Well, I think we need, so how do we want to proceed? I mean,
Hey,
go ahead.
Terry, Elaine just asked a question about that audience, relating to that audience feedback in the chat.
Okay, Elaine, if I think I'd responded to your email saying that we don't allow for public comment. If there's questions, we will ask you, and we will also consider your public comment that you make, okay? So unless the group says that they want to hear from Elaine and all the other people who had that. So let's just, commissioners, let's focus on our discussion. Do we want to just move this back to staff? And we also had a request from the Fort Lowell Advisory Board to hear it again, to look at the revised plans. What is your pleasure, PRS?
Well, the Fort Lowell Advisory, but we saw it in April. And then am I correct in understanding that it went back to the advisory board and back through SHPO in the 3 months before now it's come back to us, or 4 months or whatever?
Well, I think that's why we need to have a summary from Jody on where this stands and why it's back to us now.
Well, and it seems like I'm hearing that it went back to Fort Lowell perhaps with incorrect information, and that the record still needs to be cleared up as to the code requirement and some of the details.
Well, and that's what some of the emails that we
Yeah.
sent said. So, let's have Jody respond to that.
Would you like me to give the background first and then I can?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So you were correct. It went to Fort Lowell, February 28th of this year. And they recommended approval with some conditions. The conditions were to provide more variation in both wall height and wall location along the west property line rather than east, to approve the proposed gate as presented, to allow the wall to be constructed in front of the existing wood fence, and to ensure that the proposed pony wall also varies in height. The motion was seconded by Maywood, and the motion passed with a vote of 3-1. After the motion was passed, staff clarified to the applicant that the board will be making a recommendation to the Plans Review Subcommittee, and it would be strongly encouraged to discuss the proposed landscaping with Mike Bell. Mike Bell is I think he's retired, but he's a landscape architect that is part of the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board. Then it went to, you have to forgive me as I have 50 million tabs. Then it went to the Plans Review Subcommittee in April, late April 27th. And there it was continued. As part of that motion to continue, there was initial motion, and then there was the modified motion. The modified motion, it was moved by Commissioner Roja to continue the review process. Once the wall plans have been revised in accordance with the recommendations from the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board, plans to include additional visibility of the house from the north side fence. The revised plans should be submitted to the State Historic Preservation Office for review and confirmation from SHPO and the State Historic Preservation Officer that the proposal for the 6-foot wall, specifically on the north end, will not affect the National Register of Historic Places listing status of the property that is located in the southern portion of the parcel, i.e., will not cause the property to be delisted. And that motion passed with a vote of 5-0. Staff then, and I would say the property also, made contact with the State Historic Preservation Office on this project. And it was clarified, because it wasn't previously clarified, that the Post Traders building, the one that is at the forefront of the property, is individually listed on the National Register. The Fort Lowell is not a district per se, it is a multiple resource area. So the buildings at Fort Lowell are all listed individually. The Post Traders building is listed as such individually. The rear building is not listed on the National Register. It is considered a contributing historic property to the historic preservation zone. There was comments during the Fort Lowell meeting regarding the height of the fence. SHPO has a policy that if a fence is a solid fence is over 48 inches, that the property is automatically deemed a non-contributor. It was pointed out in one of the emails that the code was not followed. And it was quoted as under the Technical Standards Manual, section 9-02, .4.0 supplemental review criteria. It should be noted part of, hold on, and I'll maybe show that to you. This is it, supplemental review criteria share. This is, can you guys all see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So it does talk to enclosures here, but it should be noted that at the very first sentence, in addition to the key design criteria listed above, the following factors affecting the appearance, harmony, and unique characteristics of an HPZ have been identified in the UDC and may be considered in the review process. It keeps color, landscaping, enclosures, and utilities in this section. So may is not a hard and fast. May is something that it is the prerogative of the advisory board if they want to include it or not want to include it. So that's where that discussion came from. The options for the board to, at this point, to make a recommendation is to approve with conditions, to continue, or to deny. At that point, the recommendations are then forwarded to the director. The director has the option to approve with conditions, deny, or remand back. So the director can remand it back. It would go back through the advisory boards and the plans review subcommittee. Did I answer questions, or are there additional questions?
Commissioners?
Well, this is Jan. I guess I feel like the last time we reviewed it, we were not getting clear direction, that the code said 4 feet, but we had the option to vary it. It was kind of obscured as a SHPO call. And I feel like the SHPO issue kind of muddied the waters, at least for me, in terms of both residents being part of the being contributing to the Fort Lowell district. I just feel like we were poorly served in terms of getting clear information. We can make recommendations if we have clear information, but it just felt like it fell to other public members to kind of fill in the gaps, and that we're having to play catch up with that. And that's not necessarily the applicant's fault, but it makes it hard to make an informed decision.
The thing that worries me about this project is, like, could we make a decision today? Yeah, like, yes, technically, but like, if we make the wrong decision and that goes through, and then a property is now non-contributing in that area, like, then we're the ones that take the blame for that, for not doing our job.
So it should be clear that there are plenty of properties, I'm not speaking in particular to Fort Lowell. There are properties that have a solid fence and they have openings through a gate. The property that is directly across the street from this property is individually listed on the National Register. It has a solid fence. It is receiving the property tax reduction because they have a gate that allows visibility. And that means that it's, still contributing. That I confirmed with SHPO. So
okay. Is that fence across the street also like 6 to 5 feet tall, like this one? That gate?
It is 6
Or
feet
whatever.
tall.
Who is that?
This is Jill, the property owner.
Okay, it is 6 feet tall. Okay.
And it's a contributor to the district.
it is individually listed as part of the multiple resource area.
Is it a
Before-
contributor to the Fort Lowell Historic District, the city's?
Yes,
Is it-
that automatically makes it a contributor. In Fort Lowell, you have individually listed properties as part of Fort Lowell, and then you have contributing historic and contributing non-historic. So those are strictly in the HPZ. In this instance, the property across the street is individually listed on the National Register. So it is also a contributor to the HPZ.
The contributor historic.
Okay.
And was that the one where the wall was erected before something happened, or Or did that go through the process?
It's my understanding that that went through the process, and there was some displeasure from the neighborhood about that wall.
Yeah, well, there's clearly displeasure about this, and so something is not meshing. You know, it is it's so much different of a district than the other ones that are more residential neighborhoods, you know, than this. I mean, it's more spread out, different concerns. Other commissioners?
Well, this is Joel. I guess I want to ask staff, what's the best thing do you think that this commission can do to move this properly down the line? I mean, should we vote to recommend, not recommend?
I can't.
They can't tell us that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I can't tell you that. I can tell you your options are to recommend with conditions, to continue it, or to deny it. You have both the property owner, the property owner's architect, you have the chair of the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board here, and there is another member of the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board here, Mary Lou, she's the other one, are both here, and they are happy to answer your questions. You have the information that was provided in the comments. Staff has not provided feedback on the previous comments that were letters, but you have a lot of people that can answer questions.
This is Jan. I'm just going to say one more thing. I just find it troubling that Corin made comments about different walls as justification. Damien countered that at least one was outside the development zone, one was constructed without approval, and that we're kind of left to sort that out, because those wouldn't be necessarily valid examples.
I will say that all of them were in the development zone.
Oh, so she gave those examples because they were in the development zone?
I don't think she knew.
I wrote it. I know.
Okay. So how about the one that was illegally constructed or constructed without permits?
So that one I can't speak to. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to code enforcement about that, about whether or not that's actually the case and it was constructed without permits.
Jody, could you summarize? I haven't caught up on anything that's transpired since last night. Is there in terms of communication, or are we gonna go back and read the public comment submitted thus far? Like, what's the next step?
Yeah.
That is the chair's prerogative. I have in the past read them into public record, and I can do that again. I have a drink next to me, so I'm happy to do that.
I don't know that you need to do all of it. I just personally haven't read anything today. So I don't know if that makes sense, or if I'm behind.
That's part of what we're struggling with. It all came in at the last minute, and even when Corin got back to Damien, she didn't copy us. We didn't hear about it till Damien responded to her. So it's.
Well, Damien had BCC'd us on there, so I don't know that Corin even knew we were on. Terry didn't even know that we were on there.
Oh, got it. Okay.
No, I suspected we were, but I wasn't sure because I can't see the BCC line.
And then Terry asked Jody to explain, and then the next thing we know is Corin's gotten back to Damien, but nobody else till later this morning. And so it's just, we're playing catch up, and it's not fair to the applicant, and it's not fair to the community or us.
Yeah, I don't know this at all. What's the exchange there that happened?
Did you get any of the emails in the last 3 days, Joel? It was the initial one was sent from Damien, and it CC'd like a bunch of people from City of Tucson and County. And that was 2 days ago. It was like late at night, like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not see those. No, I don't know why.
No, you know why? I think Damien, there was something that came back as a incorrect email for Joel, and because, and there was no way I would really know if his correct email was on there because we're BCC'd. So what's happened is all these emails have gone out. Jody's pulled them into the public record. And I mean, I think that, you know.
Joel, you were copied on all of the emails because they came from me.
Oh,
You may
The
not have
ones
gotten
you
the ones from Damien. And to be honest, that wasn't protocol. He's supposed to email me, I email you out, but whatever. I did forward all of the same ones, so you should have all of those from me.
okay, thanks. I'll look at them. And it may be my mistake. I have no idea. So
Right.
not accusing anybody or anything. I sort of want to get caught up on the issue and move forward. Well, can I ask you mentioned that the representative from the Fort Lowell Review Board is here, and can I
Correct.
just what their recommendation is and how they feel about it?
Yes, go ahead and speak, the chair, and then the additional member. Go ahead. You'll have to unmute.
So I have another comment as well. This is Ricky about maybe it would be a question for Elaine. They did not get to review the case again after we asked them to take it. After in April, we had asked it to go back to the advisory board.
You asked it to go to SHPO, so it went to SHPO for that question. It did not. The case is still housed with you. It's still continued with you.
Oh, I thought we had sent it back to also get reviewed again by the board. Because reading Elaine's letter, it sounds like now the advisory board's gonna have a different opinion, but like we don't have an official vote from them. We're just gonna have Elaine's take on that.
Well, okay, but Jody, how would we, if we wanted to have it go through the review process again with the Fort Lowell board and then come back to us after we had them review the changes?
I guess you could make a recommendation that you can make a recommendation to the director that because of the numerous issues and concerns that it is remanded back to the advisory board. That could be your recommendation.
And I would add to
And
that.
PRS,
and-
come back.
And that the record be supplemented to reflect new information.
Uh,
Right.
May I say something? The property owner.
Sure, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I guess I'm also getting a little bit confused. It seems like there is, a lot of talk behind the scenes, which makes me very sad. I want to make sure that everybody is aware that from our April meeting, we have made changes based upon the recommendations of this board to provide visibility into our yard in multiple places along the wall. We have been working with the recommendations that have been provided by both Old Fort Lowell and your board. I feel like a lot of people are getting stressed and up in arms about things, and really I just want to take it back and center back to like what we're really just trying to accomplish here and what really the guidelines are. I know that everybody feels really passionate about this neighborhood. I feel passionate about it too. That's why we have a property here. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that we have made changes and we are trying to work with you guys.
So we
Okay.
can see your changes, but I think too that we want to make sure that we have the guidelines correct on our side, because the guidelines as they came to us in April we're finding out now within the last 3 days were not as correct as they should have been.
And also giving Fort Lowell the opportunity to review the revised plans.
Isn't the main issue here, this is Carol, and you know, this has been a lot of back and forth for a property owner that's trying to build, and I don't think we want to add a whole lot more bureaucracy, and I just got back into town after 2 days of travel, so overseas, so I wasn't able to get through all the details of this, but doesn't it really come down to the fact that either you meet the stipulations recommended by the SHPO office for that wall, or the property can be delisted? I mean, isn't that the major issue here? And if I'm wrong,
No,
please correct
we're
me.
not doing, SHPO, I mean, that's good to know and that's important, but our responsibility is not the National Register. It's the Tucson district and compliance with that. And it just feels like it was piecemeal. This came to us in April, so it's not our fault that it's coming to us now in September again. I mean, I agree that's a long time. But it seems like it could go back to Fort Lowell and back to us pretty quickly.
Are
Can I make a comment?
are the standards for the neighborhood so out askew from what's required under the National Register standards for properties that are listed on the National Register? And if they are, they shouldn't be.
Can I answer a couple of questions that came up so far in this discussion?
Go ahead.
One is that the house across the street that's been referred to with the 6-foot wall and the wrought iron gate, it originally didn't have a wrought iron gate. And that did go through the review board. I wasn't on the board at that time, but there was a lot of conflict about it. And it ultimately went up. A subsequent owner put in the wrought iron gate in order to make the house visible. And then she also, invites the public to see the house. The question about contributing, we are preparing a new National Register nomination for the district as a whole. Right now, the front house on this property contributes to the National Register. The rear house doesn't, because at the time it wasn't old enough. Now it is. And it also has significant architectural features that should be seen as part of the National Register. If the wall's built, then that house will be non-contributing to the district and non-contributing to the historic zone. In my opinion, I mean, that's, as I understand it. The information about the 4-foot height restriction on the front was a question I brought up at the Fort Lowell review, and we were told that that was simply advisory for SHPO. We weren't advised that it was in the code. The way Jody characterized it this time is much clearer. That was not clear to the Fort Lowell board at the time.
That's what we were told as well at the time.
And then the other thing that happened, unfortunately, in our board, we didn't have all our members that night. And the 4 of us that were there, then a whole discussion went on about pool fencing and things like that, which really had nothing to do with us. I mean, there's an interior pool that is going to have to be fenced either way from the house. I mean, from the interior of the property. So that kind of derailed our discussion and decision. So in my most recent communication, what I'd asked for, and plus the new changes that have been made since April, we haven't seen as a board. So the design of the gate, the new fence, the changes in height, which are kind of minimal, we haven't seen. So my request was to be able to review it again.
Yeah, and Elaine, thank you for that clarification. We do not like to get things out of sync. And I think that for some reason in April, I'm not sure we pushed it back on SHPO when I think it's very confusing, the sort of how the National Register District and the individual list of properties and the HPC come together. And it is rather vague, or difficult to figure out the right thing. I mean, so, if I personally feel that the proper thing to do would be for the applicants to present to Fort Lowell, makes a recommendation, it comes back to us, and hopefully these meetings could be scheduled quickly, and then it won't be, and then there would be time for us to, possibly, Jody, you could compile all of this information that's come in and and provide it in one chunk to everybody, so we wouldn't be wondering if we missed one thing or something else is out there. Because clearly the Fort Lowell folks have not seen it, even though some of them wrote some of it. Does that make sense? I mean, so that we're all on the same page with the information and we have a chance to ask questions about it and not schedule it against, 3 other cases, because it might take discussion. And I think part of the problem with this is the vagueness in the Fort Lowell standards, frankly, because we don't have this kind of thing.
We have work to do on that, and then the new district nomination, updating all the forms.
Right.
We're working on it. We've been working on it for months.
Yeah, no, I know you are. Would you feel that there's kind of a disconnect, and it's difficult to apply. And I think when there's so much public outcry, something isn't quite right. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that it's come to this. So, commissioners, what else did you want to say, or do we want to make a motion? And, we do have, is this something that can be scheduled quickly to go to Fort Lowell?
Yeah, so if you want to make a recommendation to remand it back, in that direction to the director, Fort Lowell has a regularly scheduled meeting on the 26th of this month. It will be working on the agenda for that. Because you have another item that you'll have to review there too anyways. So we can get them on that agenda. And we can turn them around to do October 12th for PRS. Assuming that Fort Lowell makes a recommendation on the 26th.
Does that sound like a fair solution to everyone, including the applicants?
I think so, but I would defer to Jim.
I mean, that's hard for me to answer because this has already been a 9-month-long process. As Elaine mentioned, we do have a pool that needs to be finished and is deteriorating. I don't know. If that's what it is, that's what it is.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm really moving in that direction, recommending it, Jill, is that, I mean, you clearly have to live with your neighbors in your neighborhood. And, again, as has been pointed out, no one is at fault for this. It's a confusing situation, and let's not point any fingers. Let's just say, let's try to make it right so that everyone has a voice that should have a voice in the order that they should have it, if that makes sense. And if further clarifications need to be made, I would suggest, Jody, could you talk to Jill about this pool fencing and if this is going to affect anything with the reviews or things like that? What are your thoughts on that?
Were you planning a separate fence? This was your only fence, right? Could you put a temporary fence around the pool so you can finish the pool?
That would be about an additional, $3,000 to $4,000. As we continue to keep revising plans, the price kind of continues to go up. It's certainly possible. It's just a little frustrating for me that I feel like we have been making continued changes based on the recommendations, but it can continue to sit there until we finish out this process.
Well, like I said, we have another item for the 26th, so we can put you on the agenda for the 26th if PRS recommends to remand the project back.
Jody, don't we have our next PRS on the 28th? I mean, that's only 2 days later. Is that right?
Oh yeah, we have the 28th. Sorry, I keep forgetting about the 28th. You're right. I've moved ahead to October. My fault. I'm sorry about that. Yes, you are correct. We would just have to make sure that we have the motion so that you understand it, and it would be something I would tentatively put on the 28th, because that would be based on the outcome from Fort Lowell.
Elaine, is that something that Fort Lowell, like if you guys saw it on the 26th, would you be able to get us your motion by the 28th?
We would, yes, I don't think there's anything else on our agenda on the 26th.
No, there's one other item. That's why we
Oh.
were already meeting. Wyatt hadn't sent out the notice yet. He was gonna do that early next week.
So that would basically be, both meetings could be held within that essentially two week period. And
Madam-
also, do you
Madam-
do a recording of the meeting, Jody?
Madam
We
Chair,
Yes, hold
we
on.
do record the meeting.
Yeah.
We do record the meeting, and staff is usually the one who takes the minutes. Wyatt can write up the motion and shoot it over to Elaine pretty quickly, hopefully, and Elaine can say, yeah, that's what we agreed to.
Okay, and Michael, was that you? Did you have a question?
no, I was just going to say the same thing that Jody said, Madam Chair, so I'm good.
Yeah, and we could listen to the recording for that section of it if we wanted more, more background.
Correct.
So, okay, so does this sound like an inelegant solution for today? Commissioners, PRS members?
Yes.
I think so. I mean, from what I understand, these revised plans will go to the advisory board, and then we'll do it again and see, once we hear what they say.
Mm-hmm. So Joe
Just-
makes this motion. Is there a chance the director would deny that motion?
No,
As much as I like the Jedi mind tricked on everybody, it never works for me. So I would expect with the lack of a better word, hubbub about this, I expect that they would agree to remand it.
Okay. And as you know, we don't do these kinds of things as often. There's just something that wasn't the correct order or something. So if there's no further discussion, or if there's anyone else that wants to comment, if not, we can head with a motion to recommend to remand back to the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board.
Madam Chair, I think when you send it back to Fort Lowell, maybe what we as staff can do is probably wait until Fort Lowell reviews on the 26th and you review on the 28th before we submit the final version to the director for the final decision.
What?
That's the assumption, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can make the motion, though.
The other thing that Terry mentioned was, so the remand is to Fort Lowell and back to us. And then also for staff to summarize comments and facts, so those are clear for us.
And compile that all and provide
Yes.
it.
Yeah, compile them, yeah.
Fort Lowell and to us.
Correct.
And any further, and I know there's some deal, like if we get a comment that it can't be forwarded back, but we can't do that. I mean, we've got to share this so that we're not, someone has information and other people don't. You know, like we got into that fuss about the Children's Museum a number of years ago because of that. So,
Okay. Oh, am I saying I have to remit it to the Fort Lowell?
Remand.
And to us, back to us, I think.
Yeah, to Fort Lowell and then to us.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready to make a motion. Is there anything else I have to include in there?
Just about the compiling all of the information that has come, maybe will come in, and providing it to both bodies.
Okay, yes. All right, on the matter of SD 0223 00027 5360 East Fort Lowell Road. I move to, oh,
To recommend,
I recommend,
Command.
re- oh,
Rem-
yeah,
God.
you recommend the case be remanded, yeah.
Okay, I recommend the case be remanded to the Fort Lowell Advisory Board and then back to the Plans Review Subcommittee with staff compiling and summarizing the facts and communication regarding this case for both bodies to review at their respective presentations and review dates.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second, it's Jan.
Okay, is there further discussion?
I just, I guess I am okay with this as long as this is going to be addressed and dealt with before the end of the month, because I think these homeowners have been put through a lot, and it's not necessarily their fault. So this is the kind of thing that gives historic preservation a bad name when you start doing this over and over and over review. I think it's got to be done, and it's got to be done correctly by the end of the month. And that's
Right,
all.
and right, thank you, Carol. And it's partly on us as subcommittee members to read carefully and ask questions about all the different comments that are coming in and the responses. And it's also on staff to help us understand it, because we review a lot of cases and there has not been this type of confusion about one in recent memory.
And we
As far-
don't know where it's been the last few months either. I mean, whether it was SHPO or city or the owners. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
Yes, it
But
is.
we're doing the best we can.
Right, I think so too. So any other comments, or should we go ahead and vote? Okay, I'll call the roll. Terry votes aye. Jan?
I
Joel?
Aye.
Carol? Carol?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
And who did I miss? Savannah?
Yeah, aye.
Thanks. We haven't had so many people on in a while. Yes, it passed the 6-0. And so homeowners, Mr. Reiner, does everyone understand what's going to happen then? The meeting's coming up and so on?
Yeah.
Okay. And Jody, do you have any further comment?
No, I do not.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll see you in a few weeks. And thanks everyone for their participation. All right, let's move on to item 4, which is Task Force on Inclusivity Report Recommendations. Item 4A is discussion on best practices for naming of city and county physical assets. Now that Carol is back from her trip and Ricky's back on plans review, let's try to tackle this as soon as we can in October so that we can move this forward. Does that sound like a plan?
That works for me.
Okay, Carol, are you okay with that?
No, that works for me too.
Yeah. All right. Item 5, current issue for information discussion. 5A is minor reviews. Michael, what do we have?
We have last week with Commissioner Ireland, we did 2 reviews for signs. One at 260 East Congress. That one was a projecting sign. Jody, want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. There were two signs involved in this minor review. One was flat across the front of the building, and the other was a projecting sign. And we recommended that they hang the sign as they pretty much showed it, but ensuring that there be only penetrations through the mortar of the building. Let me make sure I've got
your notes.
Yeah, and it projects, the sign projects out 3 feet and 3 inches. And they're gonna put bolts through the mortar only with a back plate on those bolts so that they're really held on sturdily by the blocks that are there. And so with that stipulation, we okayed that. And then the wall sign is going on an existing. Oh, there were other stipulations like the electricity also. The electricity had to come through the mortar joint also for the illuminated sign. And then the wall sign is going on to an existing frames, and the electricity is already out there. So we approved both of those with those stipulations. Did I get that right, Michael?
Yeah, you did.
And so we have one at 260.
The projecting sign is at 260 East Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wall sign that Joe is talking about is at 14 Eastbourne on the historic landmark, the Broadway Village.
Okay, so 40 East Broadway?
No, 14 Eastbourne.
Yeah, it's in that Broadway Village Shopping Center. 14. It's eastbound way, and it used to be where it's right by that new fancy bread place is.
Not eastbound. B-O-U-N?
No, I think it's Eastbourne. Bourne.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Well-
Eastbourne. I think Eastbourne is one word.
It
Yes.
is 14 East Eastbourne. Okay. And so you did those two signs. Do you have other minor reviews
Oh,
coming
wait,
up?
let me just say on the Eastbourne signs, there's an illuminated sign over the arch with a back plate to it, and so there will be fewer than 10 penetrations in the building of 3/8 size, and again, we stipulated that they can use as few of those as possible and be ready to repair them when the sign goes away. And then there's a hanging sign with no illumination, so we approve those according to that.
Okay.
I have two that are ready to be reviewed. One at 519 East 4th Street in West University, and for a roof, and another in Amel Park at 345 East 30th Street. Both of these are for roof.
13th Street, 13 Street?
13
Yeah, okay. And that's for what? I'm sorry?
for the roof.
Both.
Shingle.
Okay.
So I would need a volunteer.
Is anyone able to help Michael?
When's this?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
I can if it's in the morning.
Okay, I'll try to work on that, and I'll let you know, Ricky. Thanks, and welcome
Yeah.
back.
Thank you. The only thing I can't do is Thursday mornings, but I can do every other morning.
Okay, we'll take that into consideration.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
You say any other morning except Thursday, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Ricky.
Okay, item 5B is appeals.
Don't.
Any,
We do not have any at this point, madam.
No, we do. We do.
You-
We have
Oh,
an
yeah, sorry.
we have an
Go ahead.
appeal for 5259 East Fort Lowell. Did I get that right? It is the new construction house. That is along Fort Lowell Road. You just saw it
Oh,
the previous meeting in August, the last meeting in August, I believe you saw it. I wasn't available. So that was just appealed today.
who appealed?
The Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board did.
Okay, did our recommendations differ?
no,
Or
No,
was it the way
Both
that-
recommended to approve, but it has been appealed. With conditions, you both recommended to approve with conditions, but it has been appealed.
I'm confused. Okay. Will you give us more information on that? What will happen with it?
The appeal material was just submitted, like, I think just before lunch I got noticed, so I haven't had a chance to actually go in and review it. I think there were concerns about the development zone and how that was laid out. I wasn't able to attend the meeting when they voted to appeal it, so I wasn't there for the discussion and it wasn't recorded. And I will be honest that I haven't had a chance to read the minutes from that meeting. So I have to play a little bit of catch up on this one.
Okay, will you let us know?
I will.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. 5C zoning violation.
There are many progress, Madam Chair. You saw one today. The other ones that are pending are in progress of being reviewed, and they will come to you.
Okay. 5D is review process issues. Does anyone have anything?
Not from my end.
This is Jan. I guess just trying to have a clearer sense when we get applications from staff to review kind of what the status is in terms of code, or are there competing guidelines? I know now that I need to do more work on my end to become familiar with what they are. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the information coming in. The last minute one I got behind on, so it's just hard when it's later.
Well, it's difficult if we don't really have a chance. I mean, I think we did the right thing by discussing the different points of view, but what frustrated me was that we don't have this kind of issue with other HPZs. Fort Lowell seems to be a continuing hotbed of discussion and dissatisfaction. And I don't know why that is. I mean, Jody and Michael, do you think that them redoing their National Register stuff will help?
I'm not sure, Madam Chair.
I don't know. I mean, it probably will help to some extent to clarify properties. And then I would say, one of the things that I understand that they're also looking at is revising their design guidelines. So that also may help. But it is, there's been some concerns, I mean, that they've had, and they voice them, so it's their prerogative.
Yeah, oh, exactly. But I think it would be helpful if you knew of any rural types of designations like this that, I mean, it's not a rural historic landscape, but it sort of is, and you have these properties with, bigger acreages, things that people want to do on a bigger acreage that they wouldn't normally do in a residential, urban neighborhood. So, I mean, is there any work on this that would help guide them in revising their guidelines? What have other places like this experience? I mean, there have to be some in some of the,
looking at what was put out there, a lot of when you read the technical standards manual and you read the design guidelines, does seem to present more geared towards properties that are lined up, like West University and Armory Park. The houses are on really defined lots. They're all right next to each other. Parking in the front, just having your whole front yard paved and parking in the front has a rather big impact when your lot is 50 feet wide. But Fort Lowell is laid out differently. It is, more of a rural context. They're wider lots. They're configured in all different shapes and manners. So it is probably something that needs clarity in the technical standard manual, probably in their design guidelines, for review, because it is set up differently. It is a rural setting, and it's a rural setting that they want to maintain. So the only other properties that district that I can think that's similar, kinda, is Harold Bell Wright. Harold Bell Wright isn't rural, but it has rather large lots. So that's not an HPZ, that's just National Register listed. But, you know, if they have properties that they want to split the lots and make it more dense, then it does have an impact on the look and feel of the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
A lot
But
of Tesla properties, north of Campbell. When those were trying to get listed. And they had
and I would, yeah, Indian House Historic District's the same. They're big, large, kind of rural lots. But again, that's just a National Register listing. So it's
even with just the National Register, it was tough because if they had split the lots, they were considering the lot as part of the
setting.
Yeah. It was very, it took 7 years to get that, the Jocelyn nomination. That was tiring.
I think this is just to clarify in terms of like, Jody, if you had said and I may still be misconstruing it, but what I heard you say today is development standards say 4 feet. You have the discretion under HPZ to vary that, much as we do with side yards, with setbacks. But I've never heard it articulated that way, if that's true, or if that's true with other standards. And rather it was referred to as a SHPO guidance, and just that whole discussion of the code and maybe some room to vary it. Or am I misinterpreting that? It would just be helpful to have that clarified up front on any of the development standards if there's a request to deviate, what the context is for that.
I would say that it is a policy that SHPO has. And yes, there was confusion. It was a policy that SHPO has.
But that wasn't the question. The question was us under HPZ. And so that's where
I understand, and I'm trying to get there. So when it was brought up, yes, I did say it is a policy that they have 4 feet. If it's a solid fence, it's got to be 48 inches or under. Then in looking up the code, it is in the technical standards manual, but the way that it's worded in the technical standard manual is frankly not hard and fast. It's the prerogative of the advisory board. It's related to colors, landscaping, enclosures, and utility. And it says may. May to me is not shall, should, must. May is the prerogative of the advisory board if they want to.
And the may was to go up to 6 feet, not the 4. It was to deviate from the 4. Is that right?
The may was to, I can pull it up again.
And then related to that, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it says may be considered in the review process. So it's not about height. It's just, hey, if you want to review this if you want to consider this in the review process, these are other elements that you can consider.
Okay. And then what does Fort Lowell say on heights for walls and fences? Because that seems like that's even more on point.
I don't have their design guidelines up. Just a second, please.
So, Jen, what happens in Fort Lowell is there are actually some properties in Fort Lowell that have fences and walls that are more than 4 feet in the
Right.
field.
I'm just asking what the development guidelines say for Fort Lowell.
So their design guidelines say fences, walls, or other physical features used to enclose open space or provide privacy must be compatible with the architectural style of the subject structure and the historic character of the development zone.
Okay.
Generally, adobe, stone, stuccoed, masonry, ocotillo, and wrought iron are acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
I think this one is just especially weird because of the properties in the back, and that's like, it's hard to tell someone that the main gate in their property has to be 4 feet when that is like your backyard fence. I think like, I don't know. I understand where all of this confusion is and the deviation to 6 feet on there, but I think it's also just, we don't get a lot of these where the placement has two contributing and one of them's in the back, then you can't see it at all.
Yeah, and
It used to be 2 properties, right? I'm sorry.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, it seems like this is evolving too, you know, like they're redoing their nomination and everything, so we're kind of stuck in a whole process.
And not to shut this down, but this item actually was closed, so we should, if it's a review process issue, we should continue to discuss that, but probably.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes it's hard and we get sort of off track on that, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, to answer or to have an answer to Jan's question, the Fort Lowell itself, though, in their guidelines does not have a height requirement. It is the other guidelines that have the height requirements with the may.
No, they do have a higher requirement because it is in the technical standard manual. So when it is in the technical standard manual, it applies to all the HPZs, whether they have it on the
says,
guidelines or not.
Michael, but
Yeah.
it says may be considered for review.
Yeah.
So
So
that opens it up. But in their design, that's the technical standard manual. In their design guidelines, they do not call out a specific height for enclosures.
Right, so I hear you saying, I mean, the technical standards say 4 feet, then there is the option to deviate from that, but the default, kind of the standard is 4, and then it may be considered up to 6 feet, look like it said under fences, walls, or whatever.
It doesn't, well, yeah, I would agree with that. So it's their prerogative. If they want to review it and how they review it, but their design guidelines, they kind of probably should reflect each other if the design guidelines are revised.
Makes sense. Okay, let's go back and do the next things. Anything else on the process? Okay, item 6 is summary of public comments. We discussed that earlier. Do I need to, how do you think I should refer to that in the LAR, Jody? Just
You can note the number of public comments that were received, and you can note who they came from and summarize them if you want to, if you want me to summarize them for you. You are not required. I had asked about it a while ago, if you were required to include those with like your minutes or anything like that. You are not a decision-making body like mayor and council. So you do not have to include them. They are part of the record. I mean, you know, if you mention them, who they're from, etc.
Do we have the option of including them?
It's not normally what we do, but
well, the reason that would be so much easier is because remember when we had the case capstone, my handwritten note like 30 pages, you know, because I had to summarize. That was the only way to get that public comment in there. So, I mean, I'm not sure why we can't just append, but let me think on it, Swarm will talk.
okay.
Oh, I did have a question, but maybe it's a review process issue. When we're
Go ahead.
getting emails like the emails that we got, does that automatically make them public comment? Or no?
No, we're supposed to get public comments funneled through Jody. It clearly states on the agenda how they're supposed to be submitted.
Okay.
But the reason, I mean, some of the comments that came in were made, you know, all sorts of people were were copied, and Jody theoretically didn't have to consider those correctly, correct, Jody, as public comment, because they weren't submitted correctly. But we weren't about to do that.
It was Corinne requested, so normally we have a deadline of the day before by noon. And so I had sent those to you, but Corinne, the ones that came in this morning or late night, last night, she requested that I forward to you, which is, so you have all of that.
Yeah, okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can assume if Jody says to us, here they are, they're part of our public record to consider. And it's
Okay.
just help. And, you know, I would ask again, that people, when Jody and Michael send out a message, please say if you're attending. Because it's such a worry that if we have to call you, text you, everything else, and read your materials, please.
I have one other process question, as
Okay.
somebody who's been gone a lot. I was trying to read all the LARs and get caught up, and they're not housed anymore with the meeting, at least where I was looking. They're like on the agenda where they were taken up for consideration. And so you have to kind of hunt all over for them. And then some of them, like one that was sent out at the last minute right before the meeting, isn't even posted anywhere that I could find.
That just went in because I simply have to fit in time in my workday and evenings to transcribe the notes and type them up.
No,
That's
no,
what
not
it is.
the one from today. It was one from either you guys reviewed it last month.
Yeah, well, maybe.
And it just, Michael sent it to PRS right before the meeting, and it never showed up, probably because it was like to review today. And so it's not, at least as of yesterday, it wasn't online.
Yeah, I suggest, Dan, that you give me a call tomorrow. We'll both be in front of our computers. I'll bring up for these things, because you may be going to a different place.
I may be.
Yeah, and
I still haven't mastered the new setup. Yeah.
Right. And I think some of it's that. So, but I want everyone to feel comfortable that they can, you know, and basically, Jody, when they're posted with the meeting materials, I don't know, Jody, could they be retroactively posted with the meeting materials? Then we could always go back to those. You know what I mean?
I don't think I know what your question is, but they're always.
So my question is, so basically the LAR that I just finished and we got through today this morning, that should have been posted with the materials for today's meeting, right? But it wasn't have enough time.
Or could it be posted at 8 when it's approved, posted with 8/31 or whatever that date was?
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I think that's typical. You look at the 31st and you see the LAR for the date before, and you kind of scroll down, you can see some of them are missing. So maybe that's what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. That some of them are missing. Yeah.
So, you know, you can always go to the city clerk page too. And if you look under past LARs for you have to go to the historic commission, you can scroll down because you'll have to go through like transportation, historic landscape, the full commission. But
so is that how you get all the subcommittees, is go to city clerk, don't go to TPCHC?
Yes.
Okay.
That's probably going to be the easier way for you.
Okay, because like I said yesterday, that link to TPCHC doesn't take you to the subcommittees.
Right, yeah, I go to I Google boards and commissions, then you search down, it's got a whole list of all the boards, committees, and commissions. You choose our group, and then all the stuff comes up.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I'm happy to go through it with you so that we're sure we're on the same
Well,
page.
I'll see if I can find it a different way.
Okay, sounds good.
But some aren't posted, so they're not also noted.
Yeah. Okay, so item 7 is future agenda items. So we'll meet again on September 28th, and we'll have Fort Lowell. And what else will we have?
You should have 20 East Ochoa, which was one that I took off from this meeting. And then there will likely be another one from Fort Lowell, which is a rehab project that's in Fort Lowell coming down the line. has already been reviewed by Fort Lowell. And then in October, as you guys heard yesterday, you'll have 2 National Register nominations that are docket. Oh, speaking of, we also need to discuss the October dates before we leave.
Okay, what
What's
are
in
our,
October?
well, we have the Historic Preservation Conference,
Oh.
which is on the Thursday. So those of you that are going, which is several people from Plans Review,
And you asked for a scholarship.
Yeah, I did. I didn't put it in my calendar yet because I just got that email from you this morning.
yeah, and Jan asked for one, correct, Jan?
Yes.
And then who else from our
I thought
group?
Savannah did too. Oh no.
Pardon?
It's
I
just
can't make it that day. I wish I could. I did review all the materials, Jody, and I saw I'm presenting at something which I didn't know about. So that was good to find out.
Yeah, so anyway, so in October, our meetings would be what?
So our normally scheduled meetings are, of course, I don't have my calendar up.
I can.
Uh,
So I think the 12th is good, right? It's just we have to move the.
26.
Yeah, it's the 12th and the 26th are normally scheduled meetings.
So we could either do something like,
So we
The
could do the,
following, following Thursday or the following Tuesday, the 24th. What do we think? The Tuesday or the 19th, which is another Thursday? Or we could take a day off, but we probably would have like 20 cases the next time.
yeah, I wouldn't,
Tuesday's good with me. That if it works for others. That way it doesn't offset applicants too much, I guess.
but the conference is that whole week, right?
no.
It doesn't really start till Wednesday evening, right?
Yeah, it'll be
Afternoon.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah, I think the training is probably the Wednesday, isn't it?
Wednesday afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
So would we want Tuesday the 7th?
Tuesday the 24th. So we're still every other week.
Yeah, we're the 2nd and 4th Thursdays, but since we can't meet that 4th Thursday in October, we'll meet earlier on the 24th. So can everybody make those like the 28th? Are people doing things that they won't be able to make the 28th of September or the 12th or the 24th?
Oh wait, maybe I do change my mind on the 24th. I can make the 28th. I can make the 12th. I do work. I only have Thursday, Fridays off. Unfortunately.
So the
Well,
That's
other
okay.
option is,
What about the
It's-
2nd of November?
I could do that.
I can do that.
I can't because unless somebody wants to chair for me because I have a client meeting all that day.
so if you do the 2nd of November, then you'll follow right around with the 9th of November, because that's your regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah, and I can't make that either because I have another tribal meeting that day.
Well, in November, do we already have to move a day because the 23rd is Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Ah,
November is always screwy.
Does
As
that mean
in-
we're gonna have like 3 back-to-back weeks of PRS in November? The 2nd, the 9th?
No,
No, I like you guys too.
Welcome back, Ricky.
yes, thank you.
well, so but let's focus on September, October, and then maybe at the end of the month or we can talk about November. But can people make these meetings? Can we at least get 4? Because our quorum now is 4 instead of 3.
Okay, so we're talking about September 28th. We have enough people for that, right?
I hope
Yes.
so. Yeah.
One for you.
And then October 12th and
October 12th,
Well,
I have a 10 o'clock dental appointment that I've already changed once because I was trying to get home. But it's at 10 o'clock, so I should be good. I mean, I shouldn't have any problem getting, online by 1.
okay, what about you, Joel?
yes, both of those so far, huh?
Okay, those 3, the 28th, 12th, and 24th, which is the Tuesday. Because Ricky, if you can't make the Tuesday, then if we have 4, we're good. Jan, what about you? Are you those days?
Yeah. The 28th, the 12th, and the 24th.
Yeah. So I
Yes.
would suggest Jody and Michael just send out an email that people really need to answer and say, yes, these are on our calendar, we can make it, or whatever. Or
Okay.
not make it, in Ricky's case for that Tuesday.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're glad you're back. Does that work for you, Jody and Michael, that we don't go into November yet?
That's fine. Okay.
Do we have a crazy number of cases, or do they taper off during the holidays? Maybe not.
They never taper off during the holidays. They just get more.
More
Look,
bad.
even Savannah knows. She's shaking her head.
It's awful. Yeah.
So, okay. So September 28th, October 12th, October 24th. I will send out. So just to further along that discussion, we're still doing it at 1, right? On the 24th?
Yeah.
Okay, I will send out a calendar invite so you guys have that on your agenda or on your calendar.
Good.
Which, the 24th?
Yes, the 24th at 1.
Yeah, I've got it written at 1. Okay. And you'll send us an invite?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you. See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Adjourn till 3 p.m. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.